We'll just get the go ahead from the girls.
You give me the nod.
Right, she's giving us a thumbs up, so I think we're all good to go. So we're now proceeding with the 23rd of March hearings for submission to the draft Whangamata Reserve Management Plan. And I just welcome Mr. Reggie Fabish on page 53. Welcome, Reggie, and
thank you.
Go for it.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Are you all aware or familiar with the submission that I put in?
Yeah.
Have a copy. Good.
Parking and no parking.
Pardon me?
Parking and no parking.
That's right. It's only part of it. Yes, but that's right. That's correct. Do I just read through this, or do you want me to elaborate on it? Just looking through them.
You can just, we've got your submission. So
you've got the submission.
We've read your submission.
Yes.
So if this is an opportunity where you can elaborate, the choice is yours.
Yes. Yeah, well, just going over the parking, I think it's reasonably explanatory, self-explanatory. I do understand there was a neighbour who did have a little bit of a gripe about that and caused council to run for cover, if I can say that. I'm sure that could be overcome by maybe changing the dimensions or the direction that the parking work. However, if that is that's not the only issue. The issue that I really wanted to present to you is that this is a unique spot in Whangamata or in the Coromandel. Are you all familiar with the spot?
I think the Otahu toilet issue focused a lot of people's minds on that estuary some years ago, back in the late 90s, if you recall.
This is down the road a bit at the roundabouts.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was instrumental in getting that ramp put in with council.
Yeah.
That was very successful. It was proved too successful because everybody's using it. And there are hundreds. I haven't got photos, I haven't done submissions, I haven't done a petition or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I can imagine there would be a lot of signatories I could get to that. What I see, there's no gain for me. I see it as a beautiful spot for tourists and to promote Whangamata, because it's an amazing thing when people are leaving the area and they're about to go home to Auckland or wherever, they drive down there just to get their last glimpse of the water or something like that. And what the one thing that I would like to see is obviously a bigger parking area because of the things that I've laid out here, I won't repeat, but would be a jetty out there going out towards the, to the channel, maybe in a T shape or an L shape or something like that, where people can come down there. They've got something to go out onto to appreciate the view, because it is quite unique. And we have got barbecues there at the moment. No, it's not. We've got new seating there, I believe, at the moment. And there's lighting there now. I think this may have been done because I suggested 3 years ago when I put this submission together that they should increase the lighting, and they've done that. So that's good. Just one cut.
So just a bit of clarification for the councillors there. This is the only piece of road that runs down to the Otahu estuary that's visible of the estuary. All the other properties adjoin a reserve,
Correct.
Both sides of the road. So it's the only one piece of access way to the actual Otahu estuary.
Pretty much the whole of Whangamata. Well,
You're talking about the car park though, right on that bend.
No. Kotutu, there's just a straight road that runs down to the water. It's got a roundabout that turns off and goes Petawai one way.
Oh,
and the other
okay, sorry.
goes to.
I've been focusing on the Otahu.
So there's only really small parking area around it, isn't it?
Gosh,
Correct.
yeah.
very short road, and it just goes directly into the Otago estuary area.
I say, where the rocks are, to stop you driving into the water.
Yeah.
And
And I think
that's.
the idea's got some merit, so you need to put that through the community board, but yeah, it's health thing got to do with the rest of it.
And it is particularly because you can see right up the estuary that way, right up the estuary that way. It would be a fantastic spot for weddings. I mean, you can imagine how many there'd be there, and that kind of thing. And it's so unique. And at the moment, I'm not saying it, well, it is a little bit of mud flat there because of these blooming drains that are coming out.
The stormwater drains.
The stormwater drains are causing the mud. Naturally, it's sand. And I've had your microbiologist and marine biologist and a few people, I think I mentioned it here, you know, we've had about 4 or 5 people from council and associates looking at it, and they're all very impressed with the concept. It's just about a matter of getting somebody in council, you guys, one of you guys, or whatever, to grab this thing and run with it. That's the enthusiasm I'm looking for.
What about the money?
Well, I'm paying each and rate, so there's got to be plenty of money. Well, I'm sorry, you can take that.
So it's just a clarification, it's more about the roading than the reserve, because
It's not about the reserve,
No,
yes.
it's not about the reserve, just to clarify.
But it's about the roading as well as developing the tourist effect with the wharf or a jetty or whatever we want to call it, and a boardwalk. Money can be money, it grows on trees, you know.
So yeah, it grows on trees. A lot of people do think it does that. So yeah, so when you say it hasn't got a jetty there, has it?
No.
No, you're wanting one.
Correct. I wouldn't
And the jetty.
holes in the ground and let people walk out there and really enjoy it.
Oh, okay, I see. Right.
And also, I've mentioned the safety factor of that. They've got something to hang on to. There's a lot of board sailors. It's just, you just can't move down there.
Floating pontoon?
Pardon?
Floating pontoon?
Yeah, I thought about that. It could be you're still going to need some poles in the ground to hold
Yeah, I know. Because I'm looking at Google Maps and the tide's out.
Okay, good point. Yeah, I understand that the tide does come and go, but that doesn't, if you put a permanent structure there, it doesn't have to be high. We're not talking about a wharf that's 20 feet off the ground. It only needs clear future.
So it's unlikely, I would have thought, but this looks like your road's already sealed.
Sealed?
Seal road.
Yeah.
It's only a very short road, it's about 40 metres long, maximum road, and it runs to a dead end. And it's the only
You're not looking at it.
access point on the Otago estuary, because all the rest of it's properties.
Okay.
So extending the road to car parking. It's about how much car parking we put on it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Phil.
So what's the maximum number of car parks that you would like to see here?
It's not so much the number of car parks. There's probably around 15 at the moment.
But how many could there be?
You could probably get another 10 or 15, but that's not the whole problem. The problem is you get a truck down there, and there are many, I've seen so many, including the fire engine, and they drive down there, and they've got to back out, and they've got to back out around the round, so they've got to have someone to stop traffic, and honestly, and this happens every fortnight at least.
My question was about how many and how do you fund it? So if you go down the track that we've done already have, and you pay to park your car,
Okay, point. I don't
there's a
believe.
revenue stream to fund these things.
Yes, I see it's a grassed area, it's a sandy grass area. Personally, and I'm a builder, I've been around building up for a long time, I understand these things, and farming. I believe that you could drive on the grass in the summertime and you wouldn't even need to seal it.
Okay, so just to clarify, this is a reserve management plan submission. So this is something you'd like to see signal. We could at least potentially signal this as future activity for this particular reserve. Would that be?
Expand the area for greater car park.
A way forward, so that in future time, you might form a trust to actually create some applications for funding to support the construction of it in conjunction with the council. So there are those sorts of options for activity, as long as, what makes it easier, as long as you flag the activity either within or as being a part of or adjacent to the reserve, in the reserve management.
Oh, absolutely, it is. It's
Yeah.
totally.
So it's about flagging the activity, and that can be undertaken at some point in the future. And that's why your submissions are good.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's a concept. What do you think of the concept?
Oh, I mean, love it, we put them everywhere we could.
Yeah, yeah, I hear what you're saying. It is a unique spot though. You can't, in Whangamata.
We've got lots of them because we've
You reckon?
because we've got heaps of coastal areas where they're desperate for ramps, just walkways, viewing platforms, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, right.
They all go, they're all, they're the wonderfully nice to haves, and we'd like lots more of them. Right around Coromandel Harbour, for example, be fabulous. So we completely understand your enthusiasm for it.
Yeah.
I like the little spot, I'm sure.
And Whangamata, to defend for Whangamata, I know Coromandel has got some incredible places, so is the others, but Whangamata is perhaps just lacking a wee bit in this scenic setting.
You're kidding me? It's a beautiful place.
This allows people to get right in touch with the water.
Yeah, throw them in it and then they're really in touch. No, I'm only kidding. No, I don't disagree, Reggie. Look, Whangamata is a fabulous place. There's no question about that. And adding things like this does enhance the amenity that's available to us all. So I commend you for raising this, and we'll certainly discuss the submission.
All right, thank you very much for that.
Anything else? Does anybody want to ask any questions?
Good, thank you. Thank you. Is there, if I can just ask, is there anybody who you could help me that we could say target to pick this up and run with it as somebody's got a driver?
Bring it to the community board as a project.
The who?
The community board.
Oh, the community board.
We can help you with that. I'll give you contact.
Yeah, I think I've got some of the contacts here, but I wanted to come to you people first to see that there's no point me running to them if you're not enthusiastic yourselves.
Well, I'll give you an example. Another community initiative is the skate park at Whangamata.
Yes.
So the community raised a third of the funds. Was it a third?
Yeah.
About a third of the funds to actually get the skate park put in place. And it's a great facility. It's there, perfect spot, just fantastic. So that's the sort of thing that can happen when the community rallies around as well.
Yes.
To help fund these sorts of nice to haves.
And you guys would potentially support the community board in going forward.
Totally. Community board go there. Yeah.
Very good.
But like most things, it'll probably get prioritised.
Yes.
So there's a lot of demand for different things that
But,
might get prioritised.
and you could maybe see a way to put some funding towards such a thing.
Probably not, but
Always consistent.
You know, it's not just Cinder, is it?
I think the point is that jetties and things come up harbours are locally funded, and it's a community board decision.
Yeah.
And they can do it, and they get our full support.
Absolutely. Really?
you're looking at me as a councillor, but look, generally, it'll go through the community board and recommendations will come from the community board. So
Excellent.
that's the right way.
Okay.
Well
Well,
done,
I thank
Richard.
you very, very much for waiting for me.
I commend you for giving some real thought
Yeah.
to our local amenity.
Yeah.
And
It's not for me, it's for the people of Whangamata and the people that come to visit and the people that will come to visit to go and have their weddings down there and do whatever. They still have weddings?
Some do.
Some do.
there was an increase there for a while.
I'm not having another one.
But you could renew your vows.
All right.
No, very good.
Okay.
Well done, Richard. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I thank you for putting.
Very good.
Okay. Good afternoon. Or this afternoon, yes.
Yeah, no, you're all good. Oh, no, this is quite. Well done, thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
We just
That's the only question.
It's a formal thing.
Okay, so, excuse me, gentlemen, can we just have a mover? Oh, mover and a seconder. Got a mover and a seconder for the apologies for today's hearings. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, carried. Thank you.
So, yes, so I just want to explain the other bit in the pardon.
Who's the Oh, Linda, please, would you like to come forward?
While they finish their understanding of what.
Excuse me, Linda's just waiting as our next submitter. Sorry.
That's right. I think I'm waiting.
Thank you, Linda.
59. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Welcome.
Thank you. You have read my submission, which of course is brief and to the point, so I will proceed with my explanation regarding my primary hope for this document, and this is the fourth reserve management plan that I've been involved with one way and another, is that when it moves from its current draft status to an approved plan, it is factually accurate and worded in such a way that can't be misinterpreted, so that legal reliance can be placed on it both by residents and ratepayers as well as council. You know, I'm sure, that's a flaw of the 2014 plan, and it would be really good not to have that same mistake, you know, at the macro level carried forward. Let's get it right. That's my first hope. As such, I just want to bring your attention to a few things that are in the introductory pieces of the plan, and the phrase comprehensive review on page 5, and I'll read it out. You all know, because most of you have been through it so many times, that the reserve management plan, when it's issued, is a document at a point in time, and it's intended to live for a certain length of time going forward. If planning has been done well, it will stand the test of time. However, things always change. New reserves get created and the reserve management plan has to be updated. There are ways to do that. And the third paragraph under council and delegations spells that out broadly, but it doesn't specify where and how a comprehensive review is determined. What is comprehensive? Is it the whole plan, or is it a huge chunk of land, given we don't have water reserves, that is going to be incorporated in one way or another newly into the reserve management plan? Some of those areas won't be controversial and they'll just be moved in gently. Some may have resource management consents imposed upon them, as was the case with Williamson Park last year, and that just went through process. But some of the areas that are under current council consideration, discussion, projects are planned, people have been working away, are controversial. And so I'd like to see that comprehensive review aspect absolutely clarified. So I know, and not just me, but anybody else who's interested, when a public consultation will take place, when a new reserve area is either A, created, or B, merged with something that is amorphously defined here, and I'll get onto that in a minute. So that's my first question, or not really a question, it's a request. Please define comprehensive review. The definitions of this draft report's Appendix C, I understand, I'm not open to submission, and I'm not going to talk about those land areas at all. I am, however, going to talk about this definition in Appendix C. I'm very old-fashioned, but I was taught at school, because it was a long time ago, that a sentence that contains the word either should have a second part that is or. We're missing the or. So where it says in Appendix C, second sentence, these areas are either part of a road or stream reserve that is maintained as open space and may include mowing of grass and limited provision of public facilities. I'd expect after the word facilities an or, and for that or to be defined. I've got quite a good idea what some of those aspects are. For example, Crown Land Marginal Strip. It should be stated there because that is loose, and we all know how people like to get hold of one loose sentence and make a mountain out of it. And I think most of us in Whangamata are really tired of that. So my statement regarding Appendix C definition is the definition of this Appendix C on page 8. The definitions are very broadly worded. Half of the second sentence appears to be missing, and Council's well-documented intentions, for example, regarding the Crown Land Marginal Strip, should be explicitly mentioned on page 8. Regarding my next points, my submission comments on page 44, place close to my heart, having spent a lot of my childhood in and around it, is Williamson Park. And I just ask there, please, that the photo, which is supposed to give people who don't know things well a jolly good idea of A, where it is, what's there, and what it looked like at the time the report got produced, is up to date. This photo is old, and it doesn't show a number of features which indeed are even mentioned in the amenities and functionality that is there now. So could you please, there are enough drone shots of Williamson Park and environmental surrounding areas sitting in your websites. I look at them myself from time to time. They're free to you. Can you please put a modern current picture in and show clearly the two features that I've raised and any others that you feel are important to be included. But we should be able to look at a picture like that and know what's what. And I've made my comments very clear about what I can't see. There may be things that you wish to have included as well. And so my last part of my submission goes on to page 64. And this is regarding something that is defined on this page, page 63. This is called Whangamata Beach Reserve North. And because of my historical relationship with this area of land, I'm drawn to look at it very, very closely. It's a generous description, isn't it, to call it Whangamata Beach Reserve North when it's got 3 council-owned little green dots, a bit like a jigsaw that someone's lost 95% of the pieces to, in it. But it says this reserve includes, as opposed to solely comprises, 3 parcels of land, etc., etc. On the third point, and that's one that really bothers me because of my view on the reserve management plan and how it can really be used to protect reserves.
Just ask a question. We're on page 66.
No,
This is in the
63.
management plan.
Yeah, the management plan.
So I think the use of the word include is misleading. The second to last bullet point, though, should really be altered after cover to include mown grass lawns associated with neighbouring properties encroachment. This has been a problem for the Whangamata Parks Department for decades. And even though there have been policies and previous resource management plans, there's never been an opportunity or the support, particularly to our dedicated parks manager, Lou Mackwell, to do anything about it. But, you know, when a property thinks, well, say as far as you're sitting away from me, Sandra, oh, I'll just mow that and I'll just keep mowing it and it'll be really nice from my deck. We've got to make mention of the fact, if you're talking about the cover of these 3 pieces of land, where there is a problem. And I'd also like to see some actions, apart from waiting for the shoreline management plan, to deal with encroachment. I know it's in the general plan, but these areas have been a problem for years. And if you look at the real estate advertisements for properties along this, they just look fabulous because there's the house and there's the lawn.
So
It's misleading.
I was going to start with questions, but based on the premise that you said that was your last bullet point. Is that your last bullet point?
No, well, it's the last bullet point, but we get down to my chief area of submission, and that is that the proposed development box dollars are incorrect. Funding in both the last long-term plan and the most recent annual plan do allocate $179,000 to the boardwalk project proposal between accesses 6 and 8, which is the area from here to here. However, the route at this point has not been developed, and as you know, currently statutory approvals to place a boardwalk somewhere in this area have not been received for the project to approve, to proceed. So I think it is intellectually dishonest to put the entire boardwalk funding budget over 3 years, the last 3 years, ending on the 30th of June this year, into that funding box as if this is what is proposed, because it is not, and it is certainly not when you have 3 bits of land, and unless you're going to build an air bridge, not enough money to do it. The other thing I would like to say regarding the total budget is that I believe most of it's already spoken for in a completely different area of our glorious beach.
Right, okay. Is that the end of your submission?
Yes, do you have any questions?
I do.
Good, let's have them.
So, getting back to the encroachment one, because we've been working our way through some of that in other areas, and so I actually took a friend and went for a walk from one end of the main beach frontage to the other.
Did you go on the informal sandy track or did you walk on the beach?
I walked exactly where I wanted to walk.
Oh, you didn't
Which
trample on
was
dunes,
right
did
through
you?
those wonderful little mountain bits, because I knew where the boundary was.
Good.
And that's the thing. So I fully understand about the amount of encroachment around the frontage. My question to you is that, knowing from a knowledge perspective, I can do that because I know that I have that right. That's public land. If everybody did that, because it's public land, that would be fine, because that's their right. Is it because it just gives the impression of being private, or is it because there's an ecological reason for not doing what these people are doing on those areas?
I think if somebody has extended a mown lawn, it merely gives an impression, and we are psychologically in tune to avoid somebody's lawn without understanding. You knew it wasn't there.
I did.
So you walked on it. But, you know, other people, just regular people, would interpret that as, oh, I'd better go down there.
You can actually picnic on it and you'll be absolutely fine.
I know. We do have people down the other end of the beach with installed showers, and I once, after coming out from a surf, had a shower, and the man came out and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm grateful to you for providing this shower on public land."
What was his response?
Well, as we kind of knew each other a bit, I just said to him, you know, when your collection comes round for your cherished cause, I'll just add a little note to my envelope. Thanks for the shout.
I'm community, so do you want council to undertake enforcement to actually reclaim all of those areas?
Well, my focus over all my 30 plus years of dealing with council as a ratepayer, but my lifelong involvement with Whangamata Beach has always been to protect the environmental integrity of the sand dunes.
Yeah.
And I think that is where reserve management plans really come into play. There's a good reason for them being not even your statutory level, but a national set of laws. And I think that
it is a national.
Yes, it is. It's a national call, and it's also to protect reserves and give all people access in the manner that's appropriate to those reserves. So by that, when I say appropriate, I mean, I'm not suggesting that dune buggies go bizarre just because they're called, you know, and run around just because they're called dune buggies. But in terms of people walking, I think that they should have access, and they shouldn't be intimidated psychologically to keep off just because somebody feels they're the riffraff. And
well, it's just it's that property protection, even though it's not their property. It's they just develop it.
Well, the trouble is that mowing grass isn't really property protection on dunes.
No,
it would be much better to have it planted, and you have people, you know, who are trained and whose area of responsibility it is to do planting, appropriate planting.
And I agree with you, because they're trying to get the grasses away from the natural space, the very natural thing.
Exactly.
Tell me, the boardwalk proposed is an idea to try and encourage people to walk on that as opposed to through the dunes. Do you see that as an advantage or a disadvantage?
Well, you're right that the verbiage around the boardwalk proposal does say that, but in fact there is nothing about that proposal, either in its construction and design elements, or in what it will not do, that will in fact protect the dunes.
Yeah, I think they were trying to find a barrier between the two, weren't they?
Well,
One side
they're not. No, they're not. You know, the word barrier in and of itself hasn't been defined, and I can tell you that, you know, bollards and a bit of rope this far off the ground is not going to stop anybody from stepping over and going wherever they like. And to prohibit any access through those dunes, I think would be impossible to enforce, and I doubt whether legally you'd ever be able to do it. So whatever decisions are made with respect to access along the dunes, and I'm not talking about across the dunes from roadheads and down onto the beach. We had a good solution for that, but it got cast by the wayside. Along the dunes is a very, very complex decision, design and categorisation of pathway. One of the reasons I have always argued for the retention of the sandy track is it really has its advantages. One, it's for walkers. Two, it maintains itself. You don't have to install it, it's there. You don't have to repair it. Nature does that. It copes with flooding, it copes with, shall we say, the effects that some people have after, enjoying a New Year's Eve at Whangamata. No one has to go and hose it down afterwards. If things are thrown on it, they don't break. The sandy track has a really, well, it is suitable for walkers.
Not for all walkers.
Not for all walkers, and that is exactly why, and you know this, Terry, I have always said there is a difference between access 8 up to access 4. For those of you who don't know, that's this area and another excluded area of this, and the esplanade, access 9 to 8, adjacent to Williamson Park and heading north. That area and what is appropriate in that area is a completely different issue to what is appropriate for what we locals call the natural dunes heading north. You leave the esplanade and there's hardly a visitor to Whangamata who doesn't know where the esplanade is. If you say, I'll meet you at the esplanade, they know where you mean. So that is one element of the beachfront. But once you go into onto the sandy track, into the natural dunes, you're a totally different ballgame.
Okay,
and I need you to understand that.
Are there any other questions? There being none, thank you very much indeed, Linda. Appreciate your submission.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Right, so that concludes, and now close the meeting. Do I need to call you people or not?
Yes, there is a resolutions to receive.
Okay, Rudy John, seconded Terry, that we receive the submissions to the Whangamata Reserve Management Plan. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, and that concludes the meeting. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you, Linda.